Avery, whose show is this? And we're live. Welcome everybody here to the Lakers Lounge podcast. I'm Anthony Irwin, joined on this, what is it, Wednesday? I'm not going to call it a fine Wednesday because it was not. That whatever we just watched from the Lakers was not okay. It was not fine. They went into Miami and got their asses absolutely handed to them. The final score was 134-93. So to the tune of 41 points, the Lakers got their asses kicked. And Raj, there are a variety of places that we can go and that we can, start with or whatever. But I think the most pressing question that I have from this is, do we have to start using the Q word? We have to? Are we already there? It's like
right.
It's December 4th. It's not even Christmas. It's not even like the week of Christmas.
That's why I said this has to be the earliest a team has quit, early December while they are over 500. Like if you go watch Philly or if you go watch these teams that have started so far behind, you can kind of see them kind of lose belief in what they're running. By the way, just want for people watching live, this is apple juice. I'm not drinking or anything like that on the air. No, it's scary to watch and watch the team kind of go through this. I've continued to push Anthony that our defense has been a huge problem and it's getting worse, I believe, by the game. And you could see the team's like belief level. Like we use quit in terms of a larger picture, but you just look at the belief the team has in what they're running, right? What kind of how they run their actions. And on the defensive end, it's a lot of walking, it's a lot of pointing. It's a lot of, oh, that was yours. Oh, that was yours. It's a lazy style. And we can get into the specifics of why that is. But yeah, I think it's fair to use the quit where you just got blown out in Minnesota, Anthony, by 20. A game where, most people put that on the offensive struggles. Fine. LeBron came out, scored the first 6 points of the night, had, I believe, 28 or whatever he finished with, on a super efficient night of shooting. And you still get just absolutely thrown out the door. I think quit is a fair word to use for now.
My thing is what isn't there to believe in? You got the coach that you hated fired. LeBron got the podcaster that he wanted hired. Anthony Davis got I guess AD wanted Borrego. You're gonna quit because you didn't get Borrego a month into the season? To the rest of the guys on this roster, what are you quitting for? I think D'Lo has played marginally well, better than some,
He shot well. Yeah.
I don't know. We'll get into the quitting thing here in a bit. Let's talk about the game in specifically, and then we'll get to the macro stuff. So the Lakers again go into Miami and apparently walk straight from the club into the arena. Again, the final 134-93 in this one. They were down by 8 after 1, and then they lost the second by 9, and they lost the third by 16, and then the fourth by 8. At no point did they were they even competitive in a quarter against the Miami Heat here. Anthony Davis, I think, is the biggest story from this one. He played 31 minutes, went 3 of 14 from the field, 0 of 1 from 3-point range, only shot 4 free throws, finished with 8 points, 7 boards, 5 assists, and a steal, no block shots. Did commit 3 fouls, so at least he stood close enough to people to commit fouls.
Yeah.
LeBron, like you mentioned, was good on offense. He finished with 29 points, 8 assists, 5 boards, a steal. Did have 5 turnovers. Shot 12 of 18 from the field, 1 of 4 from 3-point range. Finally snapped the streak. He had gone 20 straight misses before he knocked down his 1 3-pointer tonight.
Yeah.
Dalton Connect, there's a lot of focus everywhere else, but I think we kind of have to mention this. Like after all of the hubbub of, oh, JJ Redick threw him out of rhythm by not starting him. Well, he started in this one, played 23 minutes, made one shot, went 0 of 2 from 3-point range, only shot 2 threes, Raj.
Yeah,
Had 2 points and 2 boards, 1 assist, and 2 steals. It's just an ugly, ugly stat line here. You look at the Miami Heat, they set a record tonight with 24 3-pointers.
hmm
They 47 of them. They shot 51% from 3-point range. I would say of the 47 threes that they took, 49 of them were wide open. Um,
right.
it was a complete and utter ass kicking. You would have no idea that they had just gotten their asses kicked by Minnesota the day previously. Hell, like you can go back to, so they beat the Utah Jazz, but I don't think they played well in that one in any of those quarters.
No,
Uh,
barely won.
so you could go like they played the Phoenix game. So it went Orlando and then Phoenix and then Denver, right? Or was it Denver then Phoenix?
Yeah, I think you're right. And then it was Oklahoma City a few games after that as well.
Fairly competitive with OKC, so I'll give them credit for that one.
Yeah,
Fairly competitive. But like overall, I think I would point to maybe like 3/4 of the last like 8 games that they have played like good basketball in. And it's
yeah.
like, where the hell did that Orlando game break them? Like, was that it? Was that all it was going to take?
Yeah, and I don't think it's just the Orlando game, but when I'm watching Anthony, and coaches speak about this all the time in terms of it doesn't really matter what they coach if the team doesn't buy into it, right? Like a lot of coaches, they ask like, why don't more teams run zone? It's because it's hard to get players to be, super engaged in zone type of defense, which is why a lot of teams kind of stick to the man, kind of drop coverages. Lakers, Anthony, have been switching a lot of stuff. They've been switching on defense a ton.
Everything. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Too much.
and I'm of the belief, the basketball philosophy, that switching it like really hinders lazy tendencies, right? And it's a lazy style
Hinders
of
or exaggerates them.
exaggerates, excuse me, like
Mhm.
exaggerates lazy tendencies. And it's a lazy type of defense, right? You're literally
It's passive.
handing passive. Yes, you're passing off your defender to another player. And I think like there's aggressiveness that's lost in that. And I'm watching the team go back and I know most people won't do this, but if you go and rewatch like that first half and you watch AD switch on to Jimmy Butler, it's a lot of times where AD just lets him go by him. I don't know if the plantar fasciitis is still affecting him. I don't know how to like weigh that in terms of his play. It's tough to evaluate like when he doesn't play well versus when he does and when that's affecting him. But a lot of times it would just blow by after blow by, and Miami continued to just get wide open corner threes. And you give a guy like Tyler Hero wide open threes consistently, he's gonna get hot. He got 7 threes in the third quarter. There's a moment, Anthony, when a team switches where the ball handler's open, right?
Mhm.
There's a little sliver of time there, and Hero got hot off of that little sidestep dribble like 3 times. He hit one when it was a dead ball, and I was like, oh no, because I saw him, he switched that, and the crowd went kind of nuts on it. They ran the same play next time. He got a 4-point play against AD, then hit like 4 more threes that were wide open. It's just, I'm seeing that belief go, and I don't think the team doesn't respect JJ or anything like that. Those are really hard, leaps to make. But I do see a team that's walking, that's losing its like composure and just its like will and belief in what they're doing. Right? How many times can you run something when it fails? And you're like, well, why am I continuing to do this? And you see this with D'Lo as well. He switches on to Jimmy Butler. He's like, oh well, I mean, he's gonna score. What am I? Should I try here? Like, and it's
Yeah.
just it's this cascading effect, and yeah, that's what I'm seeing so far, and it's tough to win games when you're giving up. They give up 69 points at halftime to a,
Dude, the Heat were at 23 with 5 minutes to go in the first quarter. I
and
thought they were on their way to like a 50-point quarter.
this is a below 500 Miami Heat team coming in here. Bam Adebayo was not playing well. Jimmy Butler was kind of having an up and down season. You let this team just absolutely embarrass you and have a great time doing it. They kept panning to the Heat bench, and the Heat are just having an absolute party at the Lakers' expense. It's been a rough few weeks.
I guess I don't have the clip of it, but they so Trudell always opens with the first question. I actually kind of broke the unwritten rule when I went to San Antonio, because I'll bring some levity to this. So we're in the locker room and everybody's talking to LeBron, and I was like way back row there.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why like you couldn't hear him. I got the video of him saying I played like shit, but like I didn't like, you know. And so like the LeBron thing was like wrapping up, and I was like already kind of moving towards AD because I was like, I'm not getting anything here from LeBron. Like,
Right.
you know,
Mm-hmm.
I may as well get a good spot here with AD. So I walk up. So they say last question for LeBron. And then while LeBron is giving that answer, I didn't even wait for the final, like for his full response. The PR lady there goes, all right, AD's ready for questions. So I was like, gone. Like I'm just, you know,
Yeah.
and I wind up getting like front row there, and I'm like standing there super awkward because the rest of the scrum is coming there, and like Anthony like didn't want to answer questions until everybody was there, I guess.
Yeah.
And then the PR lady goes like, all right, open for questions. And I was like, okay. And True was in the other room where they had the what's it called? The stand that
Oh, the
they
presser.
yeah, well, like the table or whatever. So like
Okay.
they had like the table service, and I think Gabe and Max and JJ, and I think one more player was over there. And then, you know, LeBron and AD were in the locker room, and
Mm-hmm.
True was in the presser, and then we were handling the scrums, and it was Allie handling the scrums. And Allie is supposed to get the first question. That's why, like
Right.
at the beginning of the video that I played, AD's like, Are we going? Who the fuck is this guy? Are we going?" And the lady was like, "Yeah, no, you're good." And I was like, "Oh." And then like I saw Ali's face. I was like, "Oh yeah. Yeah, my bad. I'm sorry." But anyway, that was more effort than the Lakers gave on the entirety of the game defensively today. And so like you're talking about like the belief and like the switching thing. Like again, I'm not gonna like ex- I'm not saying that you're excusing them quitting. I'm not even gonna try to explain it. Like
Yeah.
I think it's bullshit that we're in December and we're sitting here talking about them potentially quitting. I don't
Yeah.
care what the reasoning is. Oh, JJ tells us to switch. I don't know about switching. I have to guard Jimmy Butler now. Like, I don't give a fuck. Guard Jimmy Butler. They have
Yeah.
Tyler Hero on their team. Like
Right.
Tyler Hero's not some great defender, but he's still competing.
They have Kevin Love out there.
They have Duncan Robinson. They have 3 white guys. They out white guyed the Lakers tonight. That almost never happens. And so
Right.
like
Yeah.
I'm watching like the way that they're playing, and there was a play where like the ball got passed into the interior, and Kevin Love could have shot a layup, and instead he was like, no, oh, there's an open shooter over there. I'm going to pass the ball over there, and nobody moved to either player. And it's
Yeah.
just like outright quitting, and like the transition defense is bad, and the transition offense is bad because they're not running because they're not getting stops. And the half court offense has gone to shit because LeBron has decided, no, I'm going to play LeBron ball now. And it's like, I just, none of this, like, none of this makes any sense. Like, it doesn't make, you guys wanted, when I say you guys, I mean literally the Los Angeles Lakers last year wanted Darvin Ham gone. And then they came into this year's preseason and training camp walking on fucking bubbles and rainbows and shit because Darvin wasn't there anymore. We're a month into the season, a month and change into the season, and we're right back to the same old bullshit. And it's what happens when the first time that you quit on anything, that's
Makes it
you
easier.
setting the precedent for yourself. Because the next time that things get hard, you're gonna quit again. That's how this is gonna go.
Yeah. Right.
It's
And this
like
is
once a person cheats once, they are a cheater. They are
right.
going to cheat again. And it's like what we're watching here from the Lakers is them cheating on yet another girlfriend.
Right. And so this has been my point, Anthony. And I know a lot of people have, and I'm not blaming, JJ specifically. And to your point of this is who they wanted. But I think that's an issue in of itself, right? That like, and I know a lot of people don't respect it, and a lot of people gave me context on it. But in my opinion, you don't fall backwards into a conference finals appearance. In my opinion, I know people disagree with that, but I believe there's something that you did that was successful to beat 2 teams in the playoffs. And I make this stat all the time, Anthony. The Sacramento Kings have made the playoffs once in the last 20 years. once,
Mhm.
and they were out in the first round in that first time. Like, I'm just showing you how difficult it is to win a round, let alone two. And yes, like I think getting JJ was a nice move, and I think it helped for like a week or two. But the tendencies all feel like they've come back. This team is still terrible defensively. They still don't run back in transition. And there's to me, this is a organizational kind of culture issue rather than just, I see the trades that come out that people have, given examples for. And I think, is Dorian Finney-Smith changing the culture of this? Like,
Yeah. No, I
like
mean, no, but yeah.
that's what, like, yes, he would help. Yes, it would help to have more two-way players. It would help to have Vando, who's like, his date keeps getting kicked. The can keeps kicking so far that I'm not sure it's a can anymore. Like, that just keeps going forward. That would help. But
Dando, don't kick the can personally. Let the Lakers kick it. Your feet are bad enough. Don't go kicking stuff.
right, and Vando would tweet out false. I did not kick out. I did not kick the can
Yeah.
down the road. But no, like I think this is an organizational and like cultural issue. And I like, to me, this is not just roster. Roster would help, but this is something like internal accountability and like connectivity is just not there. Like a team, a player, again, LeBron and AD can be a separate tier in this, but like a role player should not be able to not run back and have no consequences for it. Like there should be whatever the consequence is, whether it's minutes, like, there should be something where there's accountability for it. There's just not. Watch how many times D'Lo is more than okay with, letting his guy go right by him in transition, or, another player is more than okay with not boxing out. Like, this is stuff that, teams really drill in training camp. And I'm not saying JJ didn't. It's just when I watch the film, it doesn't look like these are things that are put at the top of the board. And that's what I'm seeing so far. It's a team that's quit on that end and is more than okay with doing that on multiple nights in a row. This is third game in four that they've just completely, let the rope go on the defensive end. That's inexcusable in
Well,
the
like,
West.
I want to come back to the culture part here in a second. Part of the problem that I think JJ is having is that, like, there's no viable player that he could bench a guy for when
Sure.
when they don't run. It's like, all right, D'Lo, you didn't rotate that time. Get out there, Gabe. God damn it,
Yeah.
Gabe didn't
Right.
rotate either. Like, all right, get out there, Max. Max, come on. Like, it's like it's guy after guy after guy. And then it's like, well, Anthony Davis didn't hustle back on defense. Get out there. No, I take it back, Koloko. You can sit down. AD, please run back on defense.
Yeah.
And then it's like he's playing Armel Traore and he's playing, he's just there. This roster doesn't allow the coach to hold guys to account because it's so shallow. But I want to come back to the point of, like, because this, I think, it should be the point of the show. Especially playing against a team that, like, prides itself on culture, right? In Miami. And that lack of accountability and how, like, it starts at the top. It starts with Genie. It does, like, look, if you and me, or if Twitter is aware of the fact that this roster isn't good enough and hasn't been good enough for 2 years, and the front office isn't doing anything to supplement, even on the margins, that roster with, like, some improvement here and there. Raj, they got swept out of the first round. The roster got worse.
We won a
Like,
game. It was 5.
Sorry, gentlemen swept out of. They got swept in the Western Conference Finals, and then got swept in the first round.
Yes.
Gentlemen swept in the first round, and the roster got worse. They like, Rob looked at that roster and was like, "Yeah, let's just wait till these guys are done." And it's like, and I think if you and I are in agreement and aware of the fact that this roster clearly isn't enough, and, like, these guys who think of basketball for a living probably feel the same way. They look at the bottom third of the roster and it's like, man, you look at, like, the Celtics, the bottom third of their roster is, like, guys who would be rotation players here for the Lakers. You look at the bottom third of the Lakers roster, it's LeBron's kid, it's Maxwell Lewis, who, like, only plays during garbage time. It's Jalen Hood-Schifino, who the Lakers are ushering out the door, and has only played 23 games now as a Laker. It's Christian Wood's corpse. It's Jared Vanderbilt's 2 broken feet. It's like the end of this roster is such a mess, and there was nothing done to supplement it. And if I'm playing on this team, again, I'm not excusing this behavior at all. But what I will say though is that, like, if I'm on this team and my front office is saying through their actions that they don't believe in us enough to even like clear a roster spot to go out and sign a Tyus Jones or to go out and sign a Gary Trent Jr., or that they would just let, like, they brought in Spencer Dinwiddie last year and they let him walk for nothing, and they signed Taurean Prince last year and they let him walk for nothing. Like, if this front office is telling me that, like, they don't believe in us to the extent that, like, I am, like, we are going to actively strip this thing down for parts and just wait for LeBron to finally retire, like, eventually that's going to seep into and also, by the way, not get held accountable for it by the owner, who says that the only thing that matters to her is winning, right? And so, like, if Rob doesn't get held accountable for his malfeasance, and then you look at, like, how various coaches have treated LeBron and AD, dating back to Frank, and then Darvin, and then now JJ, and those, like, all of the coaches, like, the harshest criticism that we've gotten to date was JJ saying, "I'm not sure 82 games is quite the smartest thing for LeBron." That's the harshest criticism that we've gotten of him. And LeBron is coming off of the worst 4-game stretch of his NBA career. Anthony Davis played one of maybe the worst game that he's ever played as a pro.
Right.
And I don't think JJ called him out.
No,
JJ has no problem whatsoever calling out the rest of the roster. So you don't have accountability. Obviously, like, owners never face accountability. But you don't have accountability with your president or vice president of basketball operations slash GM. They couldn't even go out and hire a GM for this guy last year. And then, your coach, all right, so there was accountability there with Darvin Ham. He got fired. But now, because JJ was just hired, that he's probably not going to be held to account this year much either. And then you look at your star players, and there's not going to be much accountability. There's never been much accountability for them. So you're going to keep on going down the rungs of this ladder here, and nobody's ever getting held to account. Of course, it's going to seep into the rest of the roster. Of course, that's what it's going to look like when shit hits the fan.
Right. And look, I think Rob Pelinka should definitely, be, have his feet held to the fire and be held accountable. But Andy, this is something that I think the Lakers have been doing, and it's, again, rubbed me the wrong way in terms of how we kick people out the door. Right. Obviously, the Westbrook situation was what it was. Westbrook was heralded as the issue the whole time, and obviously the basketball fit was ugly. And Pelinka still didn't trade him over that summer. Kept him the whole summer. He had to wait till February to make the move for him. And all we did was move that. Again, Ham makes the conference finals, and I think Pelinka heard he did what I think was the safest thing, was, hey, let me just bring everyone back. I'll bring everyone back, and we'll lean in on continuity. And then the next guy that was held to the fire was Darvin Ham. Right. And that's the guy that I think was blamed for most of all the falls. And I really try to push, like, hey, like, I think it's more than just Darvin Ham. I know he's not a brilliant X's and O's guy, but I think there's more to this than just the Lakers visibly quitting or having internal turmoil or all this stuff. And I'm not saying there's internal turmoil now yet, at least, but I'm watching the team, and, like, I was listening to you kind of say that, and I just wonder, wasn't the whole point of getting JJ Redick was that, hey, this guy? Oh, not that guy. That guy, they might have they might as well have been speaking different languages. But this guy, he speaks basketball, and they're fluent in basketball in a way that they can speak about these type of things. And JJ's a similar age of LeBron and AD. And he was texting D'Lo all summer. That I know some people have questions on the validity of that, but he was supposedly texting D'Lo all summer, and it's close with Austin, and all this type of stuff.
Number?
What was that?
D'Lo, do you have Austin's number? Can I get it, Austin, really quick?
Just three-way call real quick. Can you?
I know you're on the golf course with him right now. Could you just hand your phone to Austin? I have a couple quick questions.
Right. So there, there's a lot of that, and then last year as well with the, Rui was supposed to, Rui was upset because he wasn't starting, and then now he's starting, and it's like, oh, can he defend threes at a level that's enough at a starting three?
Well, no, so now, like, he's upset that he isn't, like, featured in the offense now that he's starting.
Right. So like my point with that is the whole point of getting JJ was supposed to be so he could hold LeBron and AD accountable, let alone the other guys. And that's just not happening. LeBron's been bad on the defensive end. First of all, obviously the offense stuff is what it is, the turnovers and all that stuff. But to me, it's the defense. Having one guy out there that just like his defensive motor is just completely shot, which is understandable at 40. But then you combine that with D'Lo, and I think the way the Lakers are trying to mitigate that, Anthony, is by switching and not trying to get too detailed. But it's just again, it all compounds to me to a team that is now losing and losing by a lot. And like the offense was so good to start the season, it really covered for those flaws. But now it's not. AD's not averaging 30 a game anymore, right?
Yeah.
It's like, and our shooting is not what it was. Dalton Connect's not averaging 24 as a starter, which was unreasonable. Number one, to expect. So and number two, I feel like we've kind of gone away from it as you've spoken about. But yeah, the team's in like a really tough spot here. This is like I don't think it gets easier. We just added Memphis and Minnesota to our schedule. Like because we didn't make
Yeah.
we didn't make the Emirates Cup.
Other teams are adding like, I bet Memphis and Minnesota are pretty excited that the Lakers got added to their schedule.
Oh yeah, like Memphis number one loves playing us, and Minnesota like they kind of have a style that really gives us trouble. We just added those two to our our schedule. This is a big kind of time here for the Lakers, but it's looking tough. I don't like what I've seen so far in December.
That notion of culture and accountability there. Like I'm looking at the quotes and I haven't seen anything from JJ that was like, actually ripping anybody. I thought tonight would be the night that he would. Maybe he already used that up and maybe he's accepting of his fate here at this point. I did have in yesterday's show, he had somebody ask about what was it? So I gotta find it. Yesterday I was asked about like JJ commenting on the personnel on this team. And I was like, I hadn't seen that. And then I saw this tweet from Lakers Nation who said that JJ admits that the Lakers defensive issues are partly personnel based, but that they need to be more disruptive and execute their game plans better. And, the question at the time was like, will JJ pointing out those, personnel issues, light a fire under the front office's ass? That's the problem, is that there's no lighting the fire under the ass. Like Rob Pelinka is sitting on a bidet that like anytime there's any warmth or whatever, or any kind of a fire, it just like shoots a little water and it puts out the fire because like the boss doesn't want to fire him. Like there's no world in which Jeannie Buss is comfortable firing Rob Pelinka. And so like, again, I look at this team and I look at this culture of quitting and this culture of the lack of accountability. And I look at, and it all starts there, man. Like it all traces right back to that as a central issue. And I just don't know if there's, like you mentioned earlier, like, does Dorian Finney-Smith fix that? Fuck no, he doesn't. Would Zach LaVine fix that? No, he quit on Chicago. Would Brandon Ingram fix the trading for Brandon Ingram? Fix the like? No, he quit on the Pelicans because he's not getting the contract that he wants. Like, I mean, and look, maybe quitting is just part of NBA culture now at this point because the league has let player empowerment run so rampant that nobody can ever criticize players that ever. Like, I criticized Anthony Davis today for the way that he wasn't playing against Bam Adebayo, and I had like 73 people on my mention telling me like, "How dare you? How dare you criticize Anthony Davis, motherfuckers? He finished with 8 points. 8. This is a guy you were holding up as the MVP, DPOI, like all of those things. GDP, I don't know. Like we're talking about we're living in this world where we can't criticize players. We and also like multiple things can be true here, by the way. Darvin, I think, was the biggest problem last year, but he clearly wasn't the only one. The roster still sucked and nothing was done at the deadline. And the person who didn't do anything at the deadline wasn't held accountable. So it's like, it's this, time is a flat circle kind of a thing where it's like all of these problems just kind of like weave back into each other. And you arrive at a place here where it's December 4th. And we're talking about whether or not the Lakers care about the remaining 67 games on their schedule.
Right. And, Anthony, I remember when we did, I forgot which game it was or when it was, but you said the biggest thing of this season was to convince the front office that LeBron and AD are worth investing in, right? That was the most important part of this start of the season. They had a 6-game winning streak. Everyone was on a high. They're like, hey, Rob, start making the phone calls. But a stat that has been concerning me, and I've been like, hey, this is kind of concerning. And everyone's like, oh, we're winning. Don't worry about it. And it's like, it's a stat of what we do when LeBron and AD are on the court. And I think like those numbers are the most important numbers because that's your whole foundation. Anthony, tonight, LeBron and AD were a minus 39 net together. Minus 39 tonight. This is with LeBron being hot, by the way. This is with LeBron like actually scoring well, playing well. Obviously, AD wasn't, but they're a minus 8.1 net for the season. And I went and looked at other duos, and it's like you go look at Jokic and Murray. They're still like a +9 with Murray not playing well. You go look at Houston, right? Sengun and whoever you want to say their second best guy is like a +18. You go down the Western teams, Jaren Jackson are like a +13. Like these teams make sure their duos, number one, play with the correct lineups, and make sure those are your best units, right? And Lakers getting dominated in those units too. And to me, that's a huge organizational issue where you can't find ways to even with LeBron being 40, you can't win your minutes where LeBron and AD play together. When when AD was averaging 30 a game, and LeBron's averaging what he is, to me, that's an issue of like not just them, because it's on them and they should be held accountable, but just the whole team in general. It's like I just have not liked the intensity, even after the Orlando game. It's gotten kind of loud, but even during the win streak, there was a couple just really concerning signs, and it's starting to blow up. And you look at JJ, I haven't watched his full presser yet, but if you watch the last few, it's the guy that's like, man, I was just doing podcasts and I was on ABC, I was home with my kids. I'm not saying he's ready to quit or nothing like that, but it's just like I was home, I was, with my kids every day, and I'm in cold Minnesota, drawing up plays for a team that doesn't run what I want them to run. It's been crazy to kind of watch his face kind of change as well.
The thing with JJ, and I said this at the beginning of the season, and I stand by it 100%, maybe 150% at this point. But the Lakers, they put him in a terrible spot.
Sure.
You're asking a guy to take a team that won 47 games last year and was, gentleman swept out of the first round last year. You're asking a coach to be the sole, not the sole change, to make up for the roster getting worse, and make the team like better, 5 games better, and more adequate for a deep playoff run. You're asking a rookie coach to do that. Like, that always seems so insane to me that the people were just like, oh yeah, JJ's gonna fix everything. It's like, excuse me. And by the way, he hasn't, but he never was going to. And the fact that anybody drank that Kool-Aid lets, again, the front office off of, off it lets them off of the hook for not doing their jobs. And again, I don't think JJ has been perfect. I think the switching thing is tough. And
sure.
Look, dude, you were hired to be the LeBron whisperer here and to get LeBron to focus and stuff like that. And when LeBron goes rogue on your offense, I honestly think LeBron playing LeBron ball over the last 5 or 6 games is probably the foundational basketball issue to what's ailing the Lakers right now. Because 1, he played really poorly other than tonight. And 2, he completely takes them out of their rhythm, and then most importantly, isn't going to be called out for any of it. It's just like, oh, LeBron, oh, you're going to take this possession. Oh, okay. This possession too. Okay. Another one, a pull up 3 with 17 to go on. All right, and And the rest of the guys are sitting around watching this, and it's like we were just playing, a system. We were playing in a system that was getting multiple guys looks. We were making Anthony Davis look like an MVP. Dalton Connect looked like he could figure into the Rookie of the Year conversation. All of these things were going well. LeBron hits a slump, and the priority becomes getting LeBron out of the slump. And like that is where JJ needs to be able to step up and be like, "Hey, dude, come on," And by the way, like this notion that no stars get talked to that way, it's bullshit. Mike Malone calls out Jokic regularly. Eric Spoelstra was challenging dudes to fights on the sideline. I think it was Jimmy Butler that he was challenging. Udonis Haslem had to step in between Eric Spoelstra and Jimmy Butler on the sideline. Like, the best coaches, the best organizations, everybody gets held to account. Everybody. And nobody is, but in this Lakers one.
Right. That's why, and again, when JJ got hired and the conversation was he'd be able to do that, I just don't think, number one, the two coaches you name, even Malone, right? Malone and Jokic have a relationship that's much different than, what JJ and LeBron have, especially on the basketball floor. They've also won.
They ever recorded a podcast together, Raj?
That's fair. Yeah. No. Right. That's what connects. But no, like they have a lot of basketball history together. And again, that's why I don't mean to keep bringing this up, but I always was like, man, him and Darvin went through a whole run together and couldn't connect. They didn't connect at all during that. There was no like synergy created from winning high leverage games together, from closing out the Warriors. Like the crazy stat is like that was the first Warriors loss in the Western Conference playoffs, I believe, under Steve Kerr and Steph Curry, which is kind of an insane stat. Yeah, first series loss. And so I never thought that JJ would just be able to come in and do that. But I think what the Lakers are missing, Anthony, and LeBron has talked about this, and whenever you speak to the guys about the 2020 team, is there were players on that team that were able to do it, right? And I think LeBron really listens to those type of guys like Rondo, guys like Jared Dudley, guys like DeMarcus Cousins were very instrumental in keeping LeBron. Even AD during that season was holding LeBron to holding him accountable on the defensive end. It's just that doesn't exist right now, and also LeBron's age makes it a really tough conversation to have. Like it's a tough conversation for even us sometimes to have, right? To be like, hey, LeBron was terrible. And that's a tough thing to just blurb out, and then you have to contextualize that with like, hey, he's old. I can't imagine how that is for teammates, how that is for the coaching and brand new coaching staff, right? JJ Redick, I'm sure, has a relationship with LeBron, but go to LeBron and be like, hey, LeBron, it's December 4th, but I'm gonna need you to sprint back in transition tonight. And LeBron's like, yeah, we'll see. But I think it's a tough and then it's tough if LeBron doesn't hold JJ accountable and the rest of the team's like, oh, it's substitute teacher time. Like we'll do what we want as well. So I don't know where the Lakers go with that, but I do think like that's something that has to change. I've continued to push even while they were winning, Anthony, that a team that's 26 in defense, that's just not sustainable for wins. Like it's just not. That's a play-in seed type of offense and defense win kind of net rating profile. You can't be 26 and win in anything. It's just not feasible. So the Lakers are gonna have to get better on the defensive end.
Yeah, I don't know where they go from here. Where we go from here is to the starred comments, where we have a few of them. People have their thoughts on this Lakers team. But first, very importantly, this. Let's see. No, Justin. I thought Justin opened things up with like. Yeah, I'm gonna put this one. Game 22 of JJ, and already this team don't give a fuck. Since the Magic lost, we have lost by 25, 27, 8, 29, and 41. But let's look on the bright side. The owner cares more about statues than wins. She doesn't care that much about statues because there was a literal typo on Kobe's.
We corrected it.
Oh, my bad. Can you correct the roster? Can you correct the Rob Pelinka thing? No, too much. Much ask.
Yeah, it does feel like the public pressure, because I think that's the only way this happens, Anthony, if there's enough public pressure. And it does feel like that's seeping through into national media. Like I'm seeing a lot of this, the worst effort I've ever seen type of stuff from people who watch the Lakers on, kind of a every few game basis. They're putting a lot of hyperboles on their effort. I think that's the only way that happens, but I think we are far away from that.
We did get a JJ quote here, and it's a long one, so
Okay.
bear with me. I'm reading this for the first time with you guys, so here's me trying to read. Quote, has to be some ownership, and I think when a group is not performing well, with which happens, and it happens to bad teams, it happens to good teams, it happens to great teams, you can splinter, and it's easy to not want the ownership, particularly when it's embarrassing. I'm embarrassed. We're all embarrassed. It's not a game that I thought we had the right fight, the right professionalism. Not sure what was lost in translation. There has to be some ownership on the court, and I'll take ownership. I'll take all the ownership in the world. This is my team, and I lead it, and I'm embarrassed. But I can't physically get us organized. I can't physically be into the basketball. I can't physically talk and call out reds and physically call out coverages. I'm not, and by the way, I'm not blaming players. It's not, I own this, but going to need some ownership on the court as well. There's not a sense from me that we're together right now. And that's what we say in the huddle. Doesn't feel like that way. It doesn't feel that way. And again, we're in a tough stretch and we're all trying to find it. I'm not, man, he had me until I'm not blaming the players thing. You were right there. Like you kind of did,
Right.
Or yeah. I wish I look, that was a long quote, obviously. If he just says, I'm not just blaming the players, right? Because that was, by the way, how Darvin lost the locker room last night or last year, was how after every loss, it was like, we didn't execute, game plan was solid, didn't execute, players got to play harder, players got to get through screens, players got to do this, players got to do that. I thought this was a better balance of those things. My thing is like, all right, JJ, you're taking ownership here. We're gonna see less switching. Like, all right, JJ, you're taking ownership here. We gonna get back to that motion offense? Because like there's one player specifically who you need to get in line with that motion offense to get back to that motion offense. Like we need to see that, because otherwise a lot of that stuff is empty words.
That's where I'm at. I really don't care very much what is said in terms of the public facing. I think it's JJ's job to make sure there's no, headline quote from this. And that's not a card that a team really, like a guy like JJ, I'm sure wants to play while they're still, hovering above 500, right? Like that's not the card. This is not the time to play that card, at least yet, I think. But yeah, what's more important is what is said, behind the scenes, or what the conversations are like in the film room, or, I think that's much more important than, the line that JJ's walking, or even Darvin Ham walked. If Darvin Ham was telling us that, I can't imagine when he was telling, the team, which is probably more important. But yeah, I think that was fine by JJ. I think he did take some accountability. I didn't think he pushed at the players a bit, and he made a good point that, yeah, he can't get the team organized. But I mean, that's also his job. Like that's the literal job description of the head coach. So yeah. That's what he's going to be graded on, and the team is, they look awful at it right now.
Justin Tyndall also wrote, are we finally getting negative Raj? Raj, are you still optimistic? Is there still a good team in here somewhere?
My point that I've been
the sigh. Woo!
That I've been pushing is, this is not a 26th in defense talent team. So from that standpoint, yes.
Is it
26th in defense talent wise?
So you have
we were starting Cam Reddish.
Clear here. I don't think LeBron overall is washed. I don't think. I'm not saying that.
Okay.
Defensively, but defensively, you can kind of see the fork sticking out a little bit.
That's fine. But you're
all right. So he's your second best two-way player. Like, who's your other defender? Gabe?
We've been playing Gabe, Cam Reddish, Max Christie, all for defensive purposes.
We're still doing the Cam thing. We're still going to say that, like, we're still going to keep on convincing ourselves. I'm
saying the reason he's getting
Cam looks so good because it's relative to Rui.
That's fine. What I'm saying is we're playing him because he defends. Like that's the whole, we're the whole point of him even getting any minutes is because he's a defender. 26 in defenses. Anthony, we're hovering like with the Washington Wizards. And I think both of us believe AD can be a DPOY candidate. You tell
Yeah.
me a team with a DPOY candidate is putting out a 26 level defense? You don't have a team full of D'Angelo Russells. You have one. You have one D'Angelo Russell. Like,
No, but you have one D'Angelo Russell, but he's next to one Austin Reeves, who like I think tries to compete on that side, but with the offensive responsibilities and what he's asked to do defensively because he plays next to D'Angelo Russell or next to Dalton Connect, he becomes like the equivalent of a D'Angelo Russell. You have a Dalton Connect who is a worse than D'Angelo Russell. You have Rui, who has been like in terms of, I think, because Cranjis always has his impact stats. I think Rui has been like an F impact or a D impact defensively this year.
and
Like
should he be though? Is that the talent that Rui has? They should be a F defender.
maybe, maybe like we've seen players have the tools and just not defend. I remember watching Russell Westbrook.
But I've also seen like Rui guard Carl Anthony Towns and like do an awesome job at it. I've seen him shut
But
down
that's it. All
Julius
right.
Randle.
So this is what happens though, is that like
There's an effort
players who
to it.
have those gifts
They
are
don't want to do it.
really good. Like when the person that they're staring across has the basketball and it's a player that
Sure.
they respect. Russ was excellent in isolation coverage. When he respected the player that he was going up against. He took like personal pride in not getting posted up, right? For a long time, even when James Harden was like the worst defender that we'd ever
Right.
seen him, it
Great
was
post
always like
defender.
James is really good in the post. He can't post him up, and so like Rui looking good when he accepts the challenge and like Cat challenges him specifically. Okay. But like, I think in terms of mental capacity on a basketball court and relative to other NBA players, not
Sure.
just
Sure.
always to be clear.
Sure.
And in terms of give up leap, I do think he's a D or an F impact player defensively.
Okay. Well, I'm just speaking about pure, like from a talent perspective, right? If we're getting every bit of juice out of the squeeze, I don't think that's what's happening right now. Like I think Rui's a better, weak side defender than he chooses to be. I think he's a better, like he can move his feet better than he chooses to be. I think D'Lo's in that camp. Like D'Lo has a huge margin, even as terrible as he is. You can really tell when he cares and when he doesn't. He even had a quote which is crazy for a guy near like 10. He had a quote at this introductory presser where he was like, yeah, I think I'm gonna try more, on the defensive end this year, which is like, okay, great. Yeah, I don't know. I just 26 in defense. That's tanking team territory, Anthony. And we're not tanking. We're trying to win.
Let's see the next one here. Marley Villasenor writes, I know Twitter keeps joking about Wagner ending our season, but do you think that Magic loss really affected us mentally? I think it broke AD. I think those free throws broke AD. I'd have to go back through his game log since. But I think his like free throw shooting has fallen off of a cliff. His attempts from a 3 per game has fallen off of a cliff. He hasn't been the same since that game. And he needs to get out of whatever funk. And I know, he's dealing with the plantar fasciitis thing. I hate what we do with athletes. Sometimes we're like, if they look great, it's like, man, they look great. And then if they don't look great, people immediately look for excuses. Like, no, you played like shit. Like we can say that. He needs to break out of whatever funk he's in. He admitted it after the game too, by the way. I'd have to find the quote.
He missed 2 free throws again tonight as well, by the way, 2 in a row in Miami.
Yeah, from Dave McMenamin at Anthony Davis quote, I personally think it starts with me. If I play better, then guys will play better. It's like if he says it, am I allowed to say he played like shit? Like in like unqualified shit? Not like, man, he might be dealing with plantar. No, I don't care. Nobody on the basketball court that he's competing against cares that he's dealing with plantar fasciitis. If you're out there, you got to play.
AD's pretty good at like taking the full blame on himself. It's just, he'll do that from whenever he doesn't play well. But it's like, can we just play well? Don't want to hear that every single time.
All right. Brandon Omeng writes, who would you prefer, Richards or Sharp as a backup center for AD? Also, I'm done with Rui, very low IQ. We need to trade him. If you trade Rui and you don't get a wing back, you don't have any wings. It's just Cam. Max is getting better. AD, what the hell? WTF? Richards or Sharp? Do you have a preference between the two?
Not really. I think they're both kind of in that similar mold of like athletic center. I think Sharp would be kind of easier to get. I don't believe he's in the Brooklyn rotation, but Richards is kind of playing for the Hornets, so I think you can probably go out and get Sharp. So it's funny because like Spoelstra was using Bam in the Coloco minutes. And I was like, man, that's just not fair. Like, it's just like it's just so unfair. And like we had the lead
He
to
was
like
messing him up too. I felt bad for Coloco.
we cut the lead to 7, and then like you see Bam like check in with Coloco. I'm like, are you serious right now? It's like the lead balloons right back to like 16. Like JJ, put AD back in. Like this is gonna go absolutely terribly wrong, and it
Yeah.
did. It's not Coloco's fault. It's just
Well, it is a little bit. It's
Okay,
just
but-
he's Coloco.
right. So you can't guard Bam Adebayo. Yeah.
Right guy writes, Clutch knows Rob ain't serious, and that leads to the recent efforts. I don't know. I see a lot of like wondering whether or not LeBron and AD are trying to get LeBron fired, or LeBron and AD are trying to get Rob fired. I think they recognize at this point that he cannot get fired. Like it is not in Genie's capacity to fire Rob Pelinka. He is not getting. He will retire before he gets fired.
I don't. I think there's a world where this goes. Cause again, I think it's all about the public pressure, or even one person's public pressure. If LeBron makes that phone call, I'm sure LeBron has Genie's contact in a way. I'm sure that phone call could also work, but I think there's enough public pressure here, and I'm starting to see it. In the national.
Magic asked for Rob to be fired.
Yeah, but then the Lakers
Magic asked
won.
for Luke to be fired, and she wouldn't even fire. She didn't even want to fire Luke. The reason Rob stuck around was because he was like, "No, we don't need to fire Luke," and it was exactly what Genie wanted to hear.
Yeah, but the Magic asked Rob to be fired, and then they won the title. Like so, it.
No, I know, but I'm saying, like you're saying that, like if the right person applies the pressure here, like Magic would have been the right person to apply that pressure, and Rob didn't go anywhere. Like I'm telling you. Rob, I will retire before Rob gets fired. And I'm a millennial. We are never retiring. It's never happening. Anthony and Jenny Neal writes, Father Time is creeping up to, if he hasn't caught up to Braun and AD, just isn't it, unfortunately. What can they do to get off of either of them? I don't think you get off of Anthony Davis or get off of LeBron James. I think there would be 29 other teams lining up for the opportunity to employ either or both if they were open to going there. I think it would take a long time to get to that point. Like not happening.
Right. This is the first time I'm seeing a lot of fans clamoring for that. It's kind of interesting to see.
I mean, I think it's a lot of Kobe fans who never truly messed with LeBron. And then now that he isn't like fully upholding the insane level that he was capable of like a couple of years ago or whatever, it's like, all right, fine, we can pile on now. Let's go. Jason Miller or Millar writes, how do we get out of LBJ's contract? Front office gave him a player option. If he's washed, he'll exercise, and now we're stuck again. Payday Tyson style. Yeah, again.
Tyson style?
Mike Tyson.
Okay.
How that fight went.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't see LeBron going anywhere.
No,
anytime soon.
He's taking every penny of that next option.
Yeah. Player options are going to be the death of me, Raj. Like I will cease to exist because of all the stupid player options that Rob keeps giving out.
What's funny is now he's just never going to give a player option, so it's going to go the other way, so there's going to be stars asking for player option. He's like, no, got burned so many times.
It's like after Dennis Schroeder demanded to start, now he isn't promising anybody starting gigs.
Right.
You're about to pay Klay Thompson $80 million, but the bridge you wouldn't cross was Klay Thompson starting while he's making $20 million a year. It's just so.
Oh, man.
Anywho, that is going to do it here for this episode of the Lakers Lounge podcast. Nice, fun, light one tonight. No doomsday prophecy whatsoever. I have a metric ton of questions I have to get to. So that will be tomorrow's episode. Sometime probably in the afternoon while Miles is napping, so that I can have an evening where I don't think about the Lakers. That seems kind of nice. I'll still think about them. I can't quit them. And then, I have a piece. I think it just dropped for Clutch Points. So I will, for tonight's or in tonight's lowdown, which are now back to the 7-minute variety, I'll recap the game, and then I will narrate that article that I just wrote for Clutch Points. And then I will go ahead and address some of the stuff that we talked about here. So check out, or keep an eye out for that here on this very same feed as well. And then until tomorrow, I'm Anthony Irwin. That was Raj Chapalu. This has been the Lakers Lounge. Have a great rest of your day. Make somebody else's. Hit that subscribe button. Hit that like button. Tell your friends about the show. Tell your enemies that you hate it. And I will talk to you tomorrow. Have a good one, everybody.